Hey everybody, welcome back to Discover SPRINGFORD. I'm standing in front of Legacy Karate Academy located on Lewis Road in Royersford. Today I'll be sitting down with the owner, Master Eric Versland.
I'm Geoffrey Desiato, a professional actor, part-time realtor, and transplant to the Springford area. And I'm on a mission to find the best that Springford has to offer. I'll be interviewing local business owners, civil servants, and other prominent members of the community to find out what makes Springford a great place to live, work, eat, and explore. I invite you to join me on my journey as I discover Springford.
Eric, thanks for coming on the show today.
Oh, of course.
I appreciate you, outside of working hours, making the time to sit down and tell your story. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to you, let people know a little bit about your personal story, and then you can transition to let them know how you got involved with karate as a student yourself first, and then becoming ultimately a teacher, and how you started the business here in Royersford.
I grew up in South Jersey.
Okay.
I went to high school down there, graduated, went to Widener University, got a finance business degree.
Okay.
Kind of gravitated into this area, worked in the corporate world for a while. Big Six accounting, well, Big Eight, and that's probably Big Two accounting firms.
They all
now.
start to eat each other up.
Right,
and,
exactly.
Right.
And then I worked for NovaCare for a brief time.
Oh, okay.
In the late 90s.
And what was it that you did for NovaCare?
I did mergers and acquisitions.
Oh,
so
okay.
I would go around the country and do due diligence for mom and pop physical therapy locations that NovaCare bought and folded into their corporate structure.
Right.
So, which was kind of neat.
Yeah.
I got to travel a lot, and I actually got a chance to see how good businesses ran.
Yeah, sure.
Which was a great experience for me, and it helped a lot when I opened the gym up.
Okay.
I knew what to do, what not to do, because when I first came into this area, I did my own due diligence. I would do startup packages for NovaCare, kind of like McDonald's.
Okay.
Hey, let's put a McDonald's here. What's the demographics? What's the what's the criteria? What's the rate of return on your investment? Things like that. So I did that for NovaCare. So I kind of knew what to look for. So when I came into this area, I knew it was a good area. I didn't want to step on anybody's toes.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. I didn't want to step on anybody's toes with regard to existing businesses that were, martial art related, because it is kind of a specialty thing. You can have a pizza place here and one across the street, and they could thrive. In this type of business, you normally see, karate school here, karate school across the street, and they're thriving.
It's it's not like CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aid, all catty corner from each other. Yeah.
And growing up in martial environment, you learn at a very early age, respect and discipline and being courteous and things like that. So, I always tried to be respectful and courteous of the existing people that were here before, and plant myself in a location that was not going to, intrude on anyone else's business.
Sure. So when you were with NovaCare and you're working completely in the corporate world, not doing this, were you, at what point did you get involved in karate just from a personal perspective?
Sure.
Yeah.
To go back, I started karate when I was 7 years old.
Oh, wow. Okay, so
my dad was in the Korean War.
Oh, okay.
He was 1st Cavalry Army. So he was stationed in Korea, and he saw, martial arts practiced, I think, for the first time when he was in the military. So he came home, and when I was born and when I was old enough, that's one of the things he wanted me to get involved with.
Okay.
So luckily, where I grew up in South Jersey, about a town or two over, there was a Korean instructor who was a former Korean rock Marine who had come over, and he had opened up his business.
Yeah.
And I got started, I was 7 turning 8, and I just, it took off from there.
Yeah.
I went all the way through high school. I ended up being a 3rd degree black belt by the time I graduated high school.
Oh, wow.
Before I went to college. After I went to college, I moved. I went to another instructor for a long period of time. Got my master belt at around 26 years old from that organization. And at that point, while I was training with them, NovaCare got bought by Select Medical, which is still NovaCare, but another corporate entity owns it. So I got kind of normalized out of the business for what I did, because they already had people that did what I did.
Gotcha.
So I got a severance package, and I said, hey, if I'm going to do something, now's the time to do it. I'm 26 years old. I just became a master. I have the wherewithal and the knowledge to try to open a business up. what do I have to lose?
Right.
So I took that severance. I got a little bit of a loan from my parents, and I opened up initially in Trapp.
Oh, okay.
And I was there for a couple years, and then I moved up into this location where I've been here for 17 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's incredible. So just for a layman like me, when you do you have to achieve the level of master before you can then teach others? Is it kind of like
No,
okay.
no. It just so happened that I was
You
teaching.
would just continue to progress through the next levels.
Yeah, when I was teaching when I was a teenager for my original instructor.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he'd be like, "Hey, it's Saturday. I'm going to go golfing. Here's the keys."
Oh, wow. So you
like,
got the...
Okay.
That's
So
interesting,
at that point, I was teaching. I was 15, maybe 16, and I was teaching kids all the way up to adults.
Wow.
Because I was already a third-degree black belt.
That's
so,
cool.
but then I trained throughout. I took a break in college because it didn't give me the ability to train. I ran the black belt club in college, but it wasn't the same as training. But then I got done. I trained after that and opened the business up in '99.
Okay.
September of '99. So
yeah,
this is
20 years. Yeah, that's incredible. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Because I mean, it's no small feat, no pun intended. Different spelling of feat, but to not only start your own business, but then 20 years later to still be in operation.
I'm like,
that's incredible.
Karate schools have mirrors everywhere. Not this way, of course,
Yeah.
because we strategically did that. But I tell everybody all the time I'm watching myself get old in the mirror.
Yeah, a little bit more gray and stuff. Yeah.
Right. Well, I had a lot more hair.
But yeah. Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah. It was beautiful hair. It's gone now. It's gone now.
That's okay.
But in the last 20 years, I could probably say that between after-school programs that I had done and private school programs, and I have a program at the Spring Valley Y now, I probably taught over 2,000 people in the last 20 years.
That's incredible. So how did it come about to be in this general area, Trapp, and then the Springford area, the greater Springford area? How did you end up being? Is this where you lived at the time? Or?
No. I was in probably Delaware County.
Oh, okay.
But I was traveling up to this area because NovaCare was out of King of Prussia area.
Yeah.
And I just kind of gravitated into this area, when I said, looking, because karate and martial arts is saturated in that Delaware
as you were
County
saying,
area.
you wanted to be respectful of the
kind of
other
like
locations.
the growth in, everybody's pushing out towards Douglasville, and the growth is like there.
Yeah.
I kind of looked and said, let me see what's going on down here and, what it'll be 10, 15, 20 years from now. Because I didn't want to be open for a couple of years and close.
Yeah.
So,
that is, as you said, that background that you had with looking and scouring the area for other smaller places for NovaCare, that's incredible. That was like, you probably didn't realize it at the time, but you were getting like a crash course and doing it for yourself. Like you said.
My parents weren't thrilled initially because they just spent all that money on college and they're like, you're going to go to karate school.
Yeah.
Really? We just spent, all this money on private school, Widener's a private school, so it was a little bit more expensive.
Sure.
But it actually, having that work experience, I never would have got the job if I didn't have the college experience.
Right.
So, and then when I got the job and I got the work experience, it fit perfectly.
That's
actually,
incredible.
We broke even in 3 months. I think I broke even.
Oh my goodness! Sometimes when I say 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, no, it was
starting a business. That's incredible.
I did a lot of legwork.
Yeah.
And I had a partner with me at the time. And we worked hard to get it going.
Right.
So. He stayed down in that area, and I came up here, and we moved our separate ways. But he did a good job, and we both were successful for it.
Yeah.
So,
do you think that it's because it's something you obviously you learned discipline through this, but something that you were passionate about as a child and followed all the way through?
Yeah,
it made it easier to kind of fight through those initial, the growing pains, as it were, because it was something that it wasn't just a job, it was something you were already passionate about, so it made it easier to transition into as a job? You think
I think so.
Yeah.
I think absolutely. There's plenty of people that don't like what they do. I've never gotten up and said, I don't like what I do.
Right.
And at the end of the day, success is a byproduct of good service and being passionate about something. If you go into a business and you just want to make money, and you just want to be successful in that regard, you're not gonna make it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to have that drive and that want to be successful at the passion that you have at what you want to do. And at the end of the day, like I've told people before, when I'm done and I retire and I move on, I don't want to be remembered for being a good business person. I want to be remembered for being having a positive effect on my students' lives.
Right.
Because they're here. I told you before we started the interview. kids have a teacher for 1 year. Most of the kids that I have are my students for like 10, 13 years before they go to college.
Yeah, so outside of their parents, you might be the most consistent voice that they're hearing. And in some cases, I would imagine, in lieu of, people who come from broken homes and things like that, they're looking for that kind of the male figure, in their lives. I know for me, my parents were divorced, so to have that positive male figure, you're kind of filling that role intentionally or, involuntarily. So yeah, that's an incredidible, it's an undertaking and a responsibility, but the fact that you're passionate about it, I imagine that you're seeing those kids, like you see yourself in the mirror getting older. You see those kids, the head used to come up to your waist is now, up to your shoulder and then maybe eclipsing you in height. It gets to that point. Some kids with the jeans.
It's funny, it's crazy. I mean, I had, earlier in my career when we opened up, we did a lot of tournaments and a lot of traveling, and I would bring, 20, 30 people across the country, anywhere from Michigan to Clearwater, Florida, to San Diego, San Antonio, Memphis and Tennessee. And, it's funny, I see all those little kids, and I came into the gym the other day, and the guys are painting the outside of the gym. You saw that when we were coming in. And one of the kids, who's like, it was painting, I turned around, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's one of my students who was like a national champion when he was like 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and he's out painting my building. He just got done college, he's still waiting to find a job, getting, figuring his life out. And I turn around, he's painting my
He's like, I know exactly what this building needs, what kind of paint and everything.
I tried to, I said, hey, what are you doing? You should be back here training.
Right. You always got a network, man. You always got to do it.
Well, it's about relationships.
Yeah.
Any kind of successful, service-oriented business is about developing relationships.
For sure.
It doesn't matter if it's physical therapy or a doctor's office, chiropractor, anything, karate, it's service.
Yeah.
And if you don't develop that kind of relationship with your client base, not just the student, but the parents and everybody else, they're coming for me. They're not coming for, because there's some people come, because it's a location. A lot of people say, hey, my kid wants to do karate, and they're like, oh, there's one right across the street. That's great.
Yeah.
They just got lucky when they came in.
Yeah, right.
But
I love it. It's good.
It's important to develop those relationships because that's what creates that longevity in training. That's what makes a kid want to come to class.
For sure.
I mean? If you come in and you welcome them and you see them and you make eye contact and you say, hey, how was your day? Everything going good. School's good. How's everything going? What'd you do today that was fun? Try to have that connection, not just with the couple, but with all of them.
Yeah.
They're going to want to come to class.
Yeah.
They're going to want to not miss a class.
Right.
Yeah. So
I
can go through my classroom and I know who's missing.
Yeah.
And if I know that they're missing more than a couple days, I'll reach out.
Yeah. That's really important. That's that hands-on approach, and that I think kind of the community aspect of karate and athletics and sports in general is that it's a team. If there's somebody who misses, the rest of it suffers because you're like, hey, we're missing that attitude, that spirit that you bring to it, because everybody has their own unique personality.
Right.
And when you get into a class like this, a class setting, I'm sure, even though there's one set of things that is being taught, but everyone has their own paradigm that they're bringing to the.
For sure.
Yeah. So.
And I I tell parents all the time, it's a unique opportunity because it's a group environment, it's a group activity, but it's an individual achievement.
Yeah.
You're here, you're working for yourself, you're working on, but you're in a group environment, you have camaraderie, there's people here that, you can, do things with after karate. Like a lot of kids create friendships. I've had people that actually got married they met here and they were like married.
Really?
They were here as teenagers, and some of my best students, and they connected when they were teenagers and they're married.
That's incredible.
The one guy's in the military. He's stationed in Hawaii.
Really? Did they get married in their uniforms or no?
They didn't. He got married in his Marine uniform. Not the karate uniform.
Yeah, that's no slouch there. That's a nice uniform to be putting on for a wedding for sure.
Right.
That's really cool. So tell me a little bit about Legacy Karate Academy and their involvement in the Springford community. Obviously, this is where you're located, but
right, for sure.
Is there anything outside of just serving the area with the karate classes that you guys are involved in.
Yeah, well, I'm a firm believer in giving back to the community. And, we do annually we do a charity tournament at the Spring Valley YMCA in May.
Oh, wow.
And a large portion of our proceeds goes to a Happy to Be Home, which is a locally based charity that does work to, retrofit homes for kids with that would normally have to stay in a hospital.
Oh, okay.
So they go in and they build out the homes so the kids can stay home
that's so cool.
with their illnesses and things like that. In the past we've also done stuff with the CHOP, for students that were that had EOE, which is a eating disorder type thing, or like a digestive disorder thing, I think, or food processing.
Yeah.
And we've done charity work for that. We've done stuff with JDRF. And we're heavily involved in the National MS Society. So next week I'm going to be doing the MS City Shore Ride, the 75-mile ride.
Oh, really?
I only do 75 miles. It's 150, but
it's really.
I only
you
go
still
down.
want down.
I go
Yeah.
down. Yeah.
Is that on a bike or
It's
a
bike, yes,
motorcycle?
bike.
Or,
No,
actually
bike.
bike.
Yeah,
wow.
bicycle.
75-mile bicycle. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
your butt's sore at the end.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But I think that it's important. I mean, anybody who's successful needs to give back to the community that they're involved with.
Yeah.
And I try to involve myself with charities that I can actually get physically active with.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Get on a bike ride, but it's still giving back to the community.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Or doing a tournament, or a walk, or something like that.
Yeah, I
So-
think it's cool also to find those charities that there's a direct kind of correlation to the business too.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
it helps,
we have
like, because
what we do. We have a connection with Happy to Be Home. One of our people's sister's child is benefited from that charity.
Right.
We have family members that have MS. In the gym that we do. That's why we do this.
Sure.
And we had a child that had type 1 diabetes.
Yeah.
He moved, but it was just a great family.
Yeah.
We helped them, a couple years.
Sure.
So it's important.
Yeah, for sure. I know that when I work in real estate, I partner with a number of nonprofit organizations, all with the connecting thing being that they provide housing for those that are in need. So we use the real estate transactions and things like that of people who are able to buy the house that they want,
right,
to support those who aren't able to do that. So
that's
awesome. finding those common threads, I think, is really cool, because then it increases your desire to help, because you feel that connection there. So that's really awesome. Thanks for sharing about that.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about the type of karate that you teach.
Sure.
Because I know there are various different styles and things like that.
Oh, yeah,
and just to give people a taste of what I don't even know how you to decipher them, but
they're just different styles of martial arts.
Yeah.
You have karate, kung fu. There's just countless numbers of. But within the karate umbrella, there's Japanese karate, there's Okinawan karate, there's Korean karate. Korean karate is Taekwondo, and Tong Soo-do are Korean martial arts.
Okay.
I try to, the easiest way that I can try to explain the difference between Taekwondo, which is very popular.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh, I want to do Taekwondo, I want to do Taekwondo. Well, Tong Soo-do is very, very similar to Taekwondo in that the kicking component of Tong Soo-do, the Korean martial arts, sets it apart from the other types of karate.
Okay.
The dynamic jumping and spinning and things like that.
Okay.
The way it transpired was Taekwondo gravitated into being the sport, national sport of Korea.
Oh, okay.
Tong Soo-do is kind of the art form with the sport component.
Okay.
So the forms are a little bit different. The forms are katas, the patterns. The curriculum for promotion and advancement to go through the belt systems are a little bit different in every different type of discipline.
Okay.
But kicking's kicking and punching's punching.
Right.
It's just a matter of putting the curriculum together. We may do different forms than they do. Our patterns are different. Our one-steps are a little bit different. Our self-defense is a little bit different. If you have a good instructor, any martial art's good.
Yeah, sure.
But there's usually 10 levels of under black belt, and it goes from white belt. Well, our particular style goes from white belt to to midnight blue belt, when midnight blue belt is supposed to represent a black belt.
Oh, okay.
And the philosophy behind that, originally there was 4 belt colors. It was white, green, red, and midnight blue, and they were supposed to represent the changing of the seasons.
Oh, okay.
White was winter, dormant. Green was spring, and starting to
life,
blossom. Red was summer, and ripening, and then fall was the midnight blue belt, was maturing and seasoned.
Oh, that's cool.
When the martial art came to America, they added stripes and different belts and things like that. So there's 10 levels, which gives you those those 10 different tests to graduate, so you can learn more.
Right. Just more of a formulated structure in each level.
Yeah, so there's an actual curriculum for promotion and advancement. Some schools use 10 different belts. Yeah. Some schools use belts and stripes. It's all the same thing.
Yeah, I think the furthest I ever got was white belt, 3 yellow stripes, which is not very far. Well, I was like 10 years old or whatever, and I think I realized that
I'm surprised you remember that.
Yeah, it was very, at the time it was very momentous, I guess, especially, and now I feel like that's, that in and of itself, I think is a valuable lesson for kids. It's just like that application of a, repeated application of a principle and consistency, and then seeing the result or the reward. Goals. Yeah, the reward for that that consistent application. I mean, that's a life lesson that cannot be understated at all.
We definitely, I tell them when they come in, I don't hand them anything. They have to earn it.
Yeah.
And
they're not like, oh, if I just pay more per month, can you just give me a midnight blue belt?
We don't do that.
That's our I feel like that's our current society, right?
Well, I wouldn't be in business if I did that.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The longevity of my business is due to my integrity.
Sure.
With not promoting people that don't deserve, that didn't earn it yet.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say deserve, but didn't earn it yet.
Yeah.
The way that it's structured too, you separate the kids by age.
Sure.
So you have a 4 to 7-year-old group. They have their own schedule. You have an 8 to 12-year-old beginner intermediate group. You have an 8 to 12-year-old advanced group. You have teenagers. We have adults. At all different times of the day.
Right.
So I probably run about 20 classes a week.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Monday through Thursday, and then Saturday.
Okay.
And we do birthday parties, private lessons, women's self-defense workshops, weapons clinics or workshops for the existing students, things like that.
That's really cool.
So we're busy.
Yeah, for sure. Now, this is going to be an off-the-wall question, but is there any misconception? And I'm just thinking about this just because I know I probably have something, but something that you feel like you're constantly correcting in terms of like people's misconceptions about karate or mainstream media's portrayal of martial arts that you feel like you kind of chuckle, like when people say like doctors laugh watching shows like Grey's Anatomy or whatever. It's not really like that. Is there anything? I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but anything when you're watching martial arts and stuff, and you're like, it's not really like that.
Well, I'll tell you, you have to sift through a lot of things. Like when people look through stuff, they're like, oh, I wanted to help my child at home, so we went on YouTube and we Googled. There's a lot of bad stuff on the internet.
Yeah.
Like you have to sift through a lot of stuff to find the stuff that's really legitimate.
Yeah.
And they're out there, but you know what, for the person, what I would say for anybody looking for martial arts, whether they live in this area or not live in this area, do your homework.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everybody's so quick to, and most of my business now is referrals.
Right.
From people that are in the gym, they refer their family or friends, and they come in, I do a trial class, and if they like it, they get started there. I don't do contracts, you stay. Month by month, and it's like a gym membership.
Yeah, right.
You want to discontinue, it's a 30-day notice kind of thing. But a lot of misconceptions are, if they come in from another karate school and they have a belt, and they're like, well, I was a brown belt, and blah blah blah, and I said, you're still a brown belt in Taekwondo.
Yeah.
Now you're a white belt in Tung Soo Do.
Yeah.
Because a lot they feel like,
style,
I earned it and I should keep it. Well, you do keep it.
Yeah.
But this is something different. The curriculum's different. Everything's different. So when I went and I graduated from college, I found a new karate instructor. I went lateral move from Tung Soo Do to Tung Soo Do. I was a 3rd degree black belt, and it was a lateral move. And my new instructor made me start a white belt again.
Really?
There's a piece of karate that is humility as well.
Yeah.
I very quickly moved back to where I was, but
you had to demonstrate the skill set that you had earned in his presence.
Exactly. And not only that, he has students that were there for years.
Yeah.
I can't have somebody come in from another school that are supposed to be a certain rank, put them in front of all my people that were been with me and been loyal to me for all those years, and then they have the equivalent rank.
Yeah.
I'd have, it's you have to start them that way.
Yeah, and I think that it probably, I would imagine, helped you too, because you were demonstrating and proving yourself in front of this new audience.
Of course.
Yeah, and that helps you to feel like I really earned this. Like not only did I earn it there, but now I'm earning it.
Yeah, I'm still doing
no
it.
one can ever, and that goes back to the integrity that you were talking about. Like you're willing to humble yourself under that type of teaching, and then to exercise the discipline over and over again to get back to where you knew you already were previously. That's pretty cool.
I think that a lot of the biggest things that parents are looking for, besides just the physical component of karate, because a lot of them when they're younger, they want that motor skill development and things like that. But developing leadership skills, building self-confidence, working on being courteous to each other, developing discipline, all those things, focusing, all those things are important. I think most parents are looking for something like that. And with karate or any kind of good martial art, and that develops that through the training.
Sure.
Because you're going through the repetition of it over and over again. What you do when you're a white belt, when you test for black belt, you have to do everything from when you came in here, from the white belt all the way to black belt.
Yeah.
And it's a constant repetition of the material. And, a lot of it is for muscle memory.
Sure.
So if you actually have to use your martial art in a self-protection capacity, your muscle memory kicks in.
Right.
You're not thinking about it. If somebody's hurling a body part at you, you all of a sudden you move because for 5-10 years you've been moving.
Right.
And the more you do that, some kids are like, I got to do this again. Why do we have to do this with black belts? Why are we doing white belt material? Well, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a constant development of your body. Keeps your mind sharp, keeps your body sharp. Some kids just want to come in and do the fighting. Some kids want to come in, don't like the fighting, and do the forms and things like that.
But let me break a board. That's all I want to do.
We a lot of boards. We break a lot of boards.
Yeah.
But
It
every
takes a while,
aspect of the class is important. And I try to tell the kids, you might not like every aspect of the class, but you have to embrace it.
Sure.
Love the parts that you like, but learn to like the parts you don't like.
Right. Yeah, and I feel like that's another good lesson for life, because there's a lot, if you want to proceed and progress through in any arena, whether it's work or school or whatever. My kids going back to school and they're reviewing what they learned last year because they've been out of school for 2.5 months, and they're like, and because some kids come back and they're like, they take a review test and it's like, oh, you don't really remember anything you learned last year, and there's that aspect of like that. It needs to get to the point where it's second nature for you, like where you don't have to sit there and go, let me think about doing this, because like you said, if you're ever in a situation, God forbid, where you don't have a moment to be like, all right, it's this, and then it's
right.
You just gotta react,
exactly,
and in a way that protects you and also is within control,
sure,
because you don't want to get into a position where you're then exerting undue force
or
whatever.
Absolutely.
Like that.
We go over that with the kids too.
Sure.
We do a lot of I'm trying to develop some anti-bullying workshops that I want to introduce to the kids, but I constantly go over those type of situations and scenarios with them. You learn martial arts so you have the confidence to walk away from a situation and not use what you have to use unless you absolutely positively have to use it.
Yeah.
My first thing and tell the kids, especially when I go through stranger danger stuff and everything else, I said your first thing isn't you're looking for an adult, you're looking for somebody to help you, and then if you absolutely need to to do something, your biggest weapon is your big mouth. So yell and scream and do whatever you need to do. Because a lot of times there's a misconception too that he's a black belt. Well, he's a 9-year-old black belt. He's still a 9-year-old.
Yeah. He still has
a 9-year-old's not going to be able to overtake an adult that's stronger, that has the willpower and who's bigger than them if they want to do something, So it's about, being smart and knowing your surroundings and things like that.
Yeah, that's really cool.
We try to encompass all those types of pieces of the puzzle too, besides just the kicking and punching, and
it's a really practical application for the skills that they're learning in the real world, Because this is a controlled environment, but you're sending them out into a coliseum or a gladiator arena, essentially. Especially going to school these days, you never know what's going to happen. So, but knowing that they are accountable to themselves because they are basically training themselves to be a weapon, and the person that is picking a fight with them might not necessarily realize what they're doing.
Well, yeah, it's
And
always
then-
the element of
yeah.
surprise.
Yeah, exactly
you know?
right. So
I mean, you don't know. People don't know. I mean, I was in a situation at one point, and they're like, pick on the little guy. And I was like, okay, pick on the little guy. You sure you want to do that?
Yeah.
But, but again, we don't, the way that I instruct is, you have the confidence to walk away from the situation.
That's awesome. I know that is a huge part, is just the ability to get kids to feel like they're being seen, and the confidence to be able to like speak up. Because I know a lot of kids, I have 2 young boys, and the idea of like, you can like look at them in the eye when they ask you a question,
for
like
sure.
that kind of stuff. Like, and that's like
That's
just
important.
like that's huge, and especially nowadays where everybody's looking down anyway at their
Yeah.
phones or whatever. Like, that's a huge thing, and that's a skill set that when they're 20, 25 years old, an employer or a prospective administrator at a college or something is going to be like, man, look at this upstanding young person.
Right.
They're like firm handshake, looking them in the eye. That's confidence that they built here.
Part of
somewhat,
being here. I like to say that I'm reinforcing what they're the positive things that they're getting at home.
Right.
I'm reinforcing that.
Sure. Yeah.
So they see it not just at home, but they're seeing it in another aspect of their lives.
Right. Yeah.
Which is important, like you said. I mean, what a great resume builder.
Yeah.
For kids. Especially if they love and enjoy what they're doing. This has opened so many doors for me.
Yeah.
Because it just it screams. Commitment, goal setting, and achievement.
Sure.
Focus, determination. I mean, what
Yeah.
better qualities does a college or an employer want?
Yeah. It's great.
And like the helpers that I have here, they all started when they were probably 4 or 5 years old. They're like mid-teenagers now, but I try to pick those kids that are going to be positive role models. Not that they're all couldn't be, but I try to pick the ones that could be positive mentors and role models for the next generation of kids that are going to come up through the ranks and through the belt system, because it's important. And not only does it do that for them, but it also builds their leadership skills.
Yeah.
So when they, get to be ready to go to college and things like that, they have a step up.
Yeah. I know. I heard somebody say like you can teach leaders or teach leadership skills, and then you can also just recognize kids who are already leaders. You know, like they are demonstrating the qualities of a leader without being asked.
Absolutely.
So and to have their teacher recognize that in them, that's like another confidence. That's like, oh my gosh, like no one's ever like allowed me to kind of like step here and give me responsibility, like, and trust me with this. Like that's a huge confidence builder as well. So it's cool that you're doing that with the kids, especially the ones that you've seen grow from that little tiny tyke. That's cool.
There's, you lose some through attrition.
Sure.
You lose some because they move, or it might not be quite as what they expected or things like that. But the ones that are here, that have been here for quite some time, they're completely dedicated to what they're doing, and if they weren't, they wouldn't be here.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? At some point, like with the teenagers now, I have to remind them, sometimes not a bad way, but like discipline, because at some point they're like in their mind, it's almost like, oh, it's Uncle Eric instead of Master Versland.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I've been part of their life for years.
Yeah.
So.
And that's good. That's another great lesson too, because like in the workplace you can have friends and things like that, but there's still that hierarchy and that level of authority that you have to recognize.
The other thing too is I meant to mention earlier is this is a great activity for special needs kids too.
Yeah.
Autism, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've come to find that a lot of autistic kids function very well in this environment.
That's awesome.
They thrive on structure. You put them in this environment, and they seem to be most of the time very successful.
That's a really good thing. I'm glad you mentioned that too, because I'm sure that if people come across this video and they might be thinking, oh, I don't know if my son or my daughter would work in that environment, maybe too stimulating or too this or that or whatever. But to hear that, that's huge.
Yeah.
Because there's not always something for everybody.
Right.
But like their son or daughter may really want to do something in sports or athletics, and they can't do this or that, or they're not provided with the support to do it the right way. But to have something like this where they could step in and really feel the structure and the stability that they need, that's great. I'm glad you mentioned that for sure.
Yeah, so. I think that a lot of the kids that I've had in the past weren't that were some of my most successful kids weren't the most athletic.
Right.
You know, I mean, I've seen plenty of wasted talent.
Yeah,
I've seen plenty of kids that were like athletic and they walked in the door and I'm like, wow, this kid's fantastic. He'll be here forever. And they're gone in a couple months because they get bored or they, you know, not that they should be bored, but, you know, in their mind, you know, they don't want to do the work.
Right.
You know, and it's not a boredom thing because I can't even be bored because, you know, it's a constant with martial arts or any kind of activity that you want to do, you have a passion for, that you want to be good at. You know, it's a constant striving for perfection. Not that you ever reach it, but, you know, you're working towards it.
Yeah, I mean, even once, like you said, even once you're a black belt, you haven't arrived. There's still degrees of there, and you're, you know, you're going for the next level and all that. So like, it's at the end of September, I'm testing for 7th degree black belt. Yeah, that's incredible. Which is a huge thing. Yeah, you know what I mean. I don't know that I can jump and kick the way I used to. Yeah, you know, I'm not bad though. I'm not bad. I'm sure. I don't want to test you. But you know, you're constantly, you know, developing, and like I said, the kids that have been some of the ones that were the most perseverance, or you know, that had the most perseverance, were the ones that were the most successful. That's awesome. Slow and steady wins the race sometimes. Yeah, for sure. You know? Yeah, I know. Like Calvin Coolidge has a famous quote about, you know, persistence, and talks about how like unrealized talent is like a proverb. You know, like everybody has. Is it that one? Oh, that's it right there. Right there. That's it. Nothing in the world take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. I honestly did not realize what quote was back there. That's incredible that I brought that up. Maybe I'll put it in the episode so people can read it on their own, because I had it like on my desktop wallpaper on my computer for a long time, because it's true. It's, you know, and I've seen the things where people like things that take no talent, work ethic, being on time, like all that kind of stuff. And it doesn't, you don't have to be the most gifted athlete, but the diligence and being here, putting in the work, you can rise to the level that you want to achieve. Yeah, a black belt doesn't mean that you're perfect. Yeah, achieving a black belt just means that you've done the best for your ability at that level, at that time and space. You know what I mean? And you've demonstrated a level of diligence with the material. Right. You know, becoming a black belt is really the beginning of your lesson. Yeah, it's the beginning of the journey. Yeah. A lot of people think black belt, oh, it's the finish line. Right. You know, from white belt to red belt, when our discipline, it's white to red. Yeah. You know, it's like almost like an apprenticeship. Yeah. You know, you're learning the tools. You're learning how to use the tools, and then, you know, and what the tools are. You know, and when you become a black belt, that's where the journey begins. That's where you learn how to apply the tools. Yeah. You know, in a practical, like real life situation. Right. You know, because all the movements and karate forms and things like that have a real life practical application. I don't teach them to the little kids; they wouldn't understand. Yeah, right. You know, but when they get bigger, you know, there's the scholarship comes in. Sure. Yeah. You know, when they get bigger. But yeah, it's like college and then being set out into the working world, and you have to apply all the things that you just. Right. Yeah, that's right. That's great. Whatever analogy that I can use to get the kids to train more. Yeah. And practice more. Yes. Because when I teach them something new, they sit in the mirror and they do it 3 times, and they're like, "I'm done," and I'm like, "You're not done." Yeah, right. You know why you're not done? And they're like, "Why?" I say, "Because I told you you're not done." Yeah, right. Go back to work. That's funny. You know, but like, really to be successful, you have to have that perseverance. Yeah, that's great. It's important. Well, Eric, this was awesome. Thanks so much. I had no idea that it was going to be, you know, there's all these loose ends that were getting tied up. We got things popping into my head that are already demonstrated here and everything. It's really cool. So I really appreciate your time. As we wrap up, let people know how they can get in touch with you. And sure. Yeah, that'll be great. Yeah, and celebrating 20 years is fantastic. Yeah, for sure. I can't believe it. Like, I blinked and it's here. Yeah. Crazy. We are located in the Lewis Road Shopping Center in Royersford, across from Brook Elementary. Mm-hmm. You can reach out at Master Versland at AOL. Okay. Yeah, I mean, but you'll have that information. Yeah, all that information. So LegacyKarateAcademy.com is our website. We have a Facebook page, Legacy Karate Academy. Okay. Facebook page. Or you can just stop by. Yeah. We do free trial lessons for everybody who wants to start, you know, and is interested in starting. Okay. They can sit and watch a class if they want to. If they want to dive right in, we can give them a free trial class, and then we can go from there. I mean, we have classes Monday through Thursday and Saturday. And again, like broken into the different age groups. The 4 to 7, 8 to 12, teenagers and adults. Awesome. Yeah, that's great. Well, Eric, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. Well, that's all the time we have for today's episode of Discover SPRINGFORD. Thank you so much for watching. I also want to thank Eric for his time today. If you'd like to know more about Legacy Karate Academy, you can click the links below the video. Make sure you tell them that you heard about them through Discover SPRINGFORD. If you enjoy the show and would like to support us going forward, you can do that in a number of ways. First and foremost, you can share this video with your friends and family on social media. You can also become a monthly supporter of our show through Patreon for as little as $1 a month. You can make a one-time PayPal contribution, or you can visit our website, www.discoverspringford.com, and check out the merchandise that we have available. I also want to encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and our podcast. Until next time, get out there on your own journey to discover what makes the Springford area a great place to live, work, eat, and explore.